There's tons of
A
people.
lot
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah, and I will definitely never, ever forget that day. But with us today, we have Taylor Winston, one of the heroes. So obviously when that gunman opened fire, you didn't give it a second thought. You were helping people out, and you saved about 10 to 15 people, and then you were hoisting people over the fence. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Yeah, so that picture is super eerie, seeing how many people were there that day. But I had just gotten there. I wasn't even supposed to be there originally. I was working with artists at a different venue at Stoney's nearby, and one of my friends had given me media passes to go in, and I knew many of my friends were there, and so I accepted the passes and then went. And Jason Aldean was just about to come on, and once I got there, I went and got a drink, and I heard a pop, and like everyone else, they, thought it was fireworks, and it was very distinct to me, but I figured it was just something off in the distance, nothing to worry about. Went back to my group, heard another couple pops, and then I knew for sure it was gunfire, but I couldn't tell if it was targeting the festival or just somewhere outside, like some kind of thing going off in the distance, which it was coming from the Mandalay Bay, which is 1,100 yards from the festival. So I proceeded to just keep looking around, and then Jason Aldean sang his first song, and there was multiple shots going off, and everyone kind of started figuring it out, but it wasn't until he got into the second song that full automatic fire was going off, turned into pure chaos. People were screaming, running in every direction. I immediately started running for my life. You don't know what to do in that situation. You look at that picture, and that's like shooting fish in a barrel. There's nowhere to go. There's fences all around you. If you've ever seen fences around a concert, they have the little spikes at the top. So as I was running, I was telling people, keep your heads down, run, get away from the gunfire. From the echo of the buildings, or for whatever reason, it sounded like gunshots were coming from multiple directions. So people were just scattering and screaming, and blood everywhere. And as I was running, people were falling down next to me, getting hit, and I was just like, this is it. You hear gunshot, closer, 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 person falls next to you, and you just think, this is it, I'm gonna die. And just kept running. The girl I was with, Jen, kept dragging her. She actually had a fractured back, and we got to the fence line, and people in the back were saying, calm down, nothing's happening, but they had no idea. And within seconds, the short amount of time seemed like the lifetime, but we got to the back fence, and people were trying to get over, and they couldn't because their dresses and everything were getting caught on the fence line, and they were getting shot while they were trying to climb over the fence and run away. I got Jen over the fence, and then got myself over and looked back. One of my friends was like, I got to go back in. My friend Jason went in for a group of about 6 of our other friends, and I thought it was the last time I was going to see him. And said, all right, well, we're going to try to figure something out. And so we just kept running. We didn't know if there were people on the ground or what was going on. You have no idea in that situation. And so I just started sprinting towards the employee parking lot, because I knew that a lot of people were getting shot and killed. And I also knew that ambulances cannot come into an active shooting zone, and these people had limited time before they would bleed out. And I've also been to a lot of festivals, so I knew that many of the trucks are shared with the employees, and I just started, the first one I searched had keys in the center console. And so Jen and I hopped in, and we drove straight back into the gunfire. We just started finding people everywhere that were just bleeding out, screaming for help. And with the help of some of our other friends, we were able to load the truck up with 10 to 15 people. And I just started driving and had Jen next to me looking up the closest hospital. We drove as fast as we could, as safe as we could, to the closest hospital. No one in the area had any idea what was going on, so there's just this truck with people bleeding out in it, trying to get through red lights and get around traffic. And when we got to the hospital, none of the nurses had any clue what was going on, and we just started dumping bodies into the hospital. And a lot of people were limp, and we didn't know who was going to make it and who wasn't. And I looked Jen in the eye, I was like, we have to go back. There's more people. And without even flinching, she said, "I'm going with you." I was trying to grab another military guy because other vehicles were starting to do similar things. And I was trying to grab this other military dude, and she's just like, "I'm going with you." And I was like, "Do not argue with a lady that looks at you like that." But it was one of the most courageous things I've seen. And we hauled ass straight back. And we were passing people, and fortunately found an officer who was going to the shooting as well. And we got behind him and tailed in and swung right in. By that time, some of our friends had made a makeshift trauma area, and they were using shoelaces, belt buckles, shirts, anything they could do to try to stop the bleeding, putting pressure on wounds. And there was just piles of people, you know. The count, I believe, is up to 59 were killed, 60 including the shooter, and then 857 were shot. And so there was just piles of people who were bleeding out. And one of the toughest things was having to leave people behind. You couldn't fit everybody. So just tried to take the most critically injured. And I don't know, a lot of people always ask why I wear like the conservative shirt, and it's one of my favorite shirts because in situations like that, you don't care about politics. You don't care about anything else except for trying to save someone's life. And I'm unapologetically not afraid to say that, you know, don't tell me I'm not a good person when you're just trying to help people. So we had made 2 trips, and once we went back the 3rd time, ambulances were able to arrive on scene, and I was no longer needed. And we dropped the truck off and re-linked up with our friend who actually escaped, and it was a miracle. And we made our way off to a friend's house. Scotty Alexander let us stay for the night, and we took about 8 of us to his house, and then waited for the morning. And this might be a little extra information, but it's very important for the culture war, because the next day I knew I was going to be getting interviewed because a lot of friends were blowing me up, and they had posted, you know, what amazing thing you had done. And I knew the media was going to try to turn this into something about the Second Amendment. And this was not a time for that. This was a time for healing and for the families and for everyone involved to start the healing process, not to make it a political agenda. And so all my friends and I got together, and we made a plan on how we would approach it. And we told anyone who talked to us, we were talking about what happened that night. We'll talk about my story because it is a good, positive story of helping people. And if they agreed to that, then we would do it.
This is Charlie Kirk, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Turning Point USA.